Ever wonder what's inside the brain of an autistic person? What are they thinking about? How are they just doing life? I'm going to explain all of that right now because I myself am an autistic person. Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the TheAspieWorld. My name is Dan. I have autism and ADHD and a bunch of other stuff. If you are interested in learning more about autism and ADHD, then make sure to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube and the follow button on all other social media platforms if you're watching on something else. So, basically, I wanted to do this video because a lot of the time people look at me strange when I say certain things, right? Like I do this thing called info dumping, right? And my autistic always, if you do info dumping, you'll know exactly what I mean. Basically, I love to understand and retain knowledge and information on things and facts and just really interesting information. And then I'll regurgitate that randomly all the time. No difference. I'll just be like talking to somebody, be like, hey, did you know how, like, I don't know, the people in Pompeii were buried under ash and what it looked like? And did you know that, how nuclear weapons are made or whatever? I don't know. Like, I'll just talk about crazy stuff. Then people are like, wow, that's fascinating. And then I'll go into kind of more detail on it. People will be like, you know a lot of information. And I'm like, well, yeah, don't you? And they say, no, this isn't typical, right? So I thought, well, maybe I should talk a little bit about what it's like being autistic and how it is experiencing the world. Please share this video if you think it's helpful for somebody. And also tag your friends in the comments to see if they would be interested in this video. And the first thing I want to talk about is conversations. Now, I have conversations with people all the time, right? Because I work in social media, I make videos and I work with brands and businesses to build their social media and their kind of stuff. If you're interested in that, I'm always looking for people to work with, so you can always drop me an email, theaspieworld@gmail.com. But when I'm talking to people, I listen to the conversation and I record the conversation. Now, it can be difficult to instantly reply to the needs of the conversation there and then, because sometimes I'll need time to process it. But what never changes is the fact that I've recorded that conversation and I'll remember that forever. And so this can happen where somebody can say something in a conversation and then 2 weeks later, I'll be going over that conversation repeatedly. So any conversation I come across, a new conversation, I'll be going over that repeatedly for about 2 weeks in my head. Now you can understand that how many conversations does a person have in a day, right? So I'm going over lots of conversations simultaneously in my brain, just trying to sift through them to find out the knowledge and the information that I need to retain to regurgitate later on that's kind of going to be useful to somebody, or it's going to be useful to the project or the thing that I was working on. So somebody could say something to me, and then about 2 weeks later, I could be like, yes, that's what it was. And then I'll message them saying, this is what I needed to send you. And they're going to be like, Dan, what on earth are you doing? Like, this ended ages ago. Like, the project was done and dusted, and now you're coming to me with the answer. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's taking that long to process it. I always remember conversations and everything that people have said to me, which is really interesting, but also kind of frustrating, especially for jokes. Like, somebody will tell me a joke, and then about a month later, I'll be sitting down on my own like, I get the joke now. Because it takes that long to process it. It's not like you can just say something and then I can just think about it and quickly message or think back, unless it's something that I'm extremely engaged in, like my work. I love digital media, social marketing, through social media marketing. And I love building funnels. Now, funnels are basically a sales funnel where it's a journey of a person. How do you give them more value in a service from entrance to exit, right? And I love that stuff. And like, I live for it. Like, all my books that I digest are about it. All my training courses that I download are all about it. I love it. And in terms of, if someone came up to me and spoke to me about it, because it's my topic of special interest, I'd be able to just kind of like, go back and forth, because it's effortless. I already know the data that they're going to want to talk about, and I already know kind of like what the premise of the conversation is going to be. Now, in terms of anything else, literally anything else, that just goes away, The second thing is, or third thing in this instance, is future-proofing or future planning events and things. Somebody says to me, hey, Dan, I have an event. My birthday is coming up on the 18th of January. Come along. It's going to be in this social club somewhere. And I'm like, okay, cool. Never going to happen. Never going to remember that. Unless I write it down, it's never going to happen. So I actually use my phone. I use the Siri assistant on my phone to input stuff into my diary automatically for me. And then I have the Alexa that basically shouts out when, I have... Just a heads up for all the autism parents out there, I do have a link down below where you can get 50% off Autism Parenting Magazine right now. So definitely check it out. Or you can go to theaspieworld.com/APM, which stands for Autism Parenting Magazine. So it's a really good magazine, very versatile, and it's been around for a while. So definitely check them out. I've actually been featured in this magazine too. But if you want 50% off, you know what to do. She tells me when I have an event or a calendar update. So that's how I organize my life in terms of those things, because if I didn't have those, I'd probably never be able to remember anything. So my brain is going 1,000 miles an hour. I am constantly digesting and analyzing everything that I see. I analyze the small details in everything. I analyze the larger details in things. I see a picture and I see the small individual pieces, because those individual pieces, like anything in life, like chemistry, if you go down to those molecular structures, those build up the bigger picture. So we have to understand the finer detail in order to understand the bigger picture, right? The proof is in the micro and the pudding is the macro. And I always people say, oh, you've got great attention to detail. And it's not that I have great attention to detail or I have a knack for attention to detail. The difference is I am paying attention to detail. And that's what autistic individuals are very known for. And this, to me, is kind of like one of my strengths, right? The paying attention to detail is really good because it allows me to look at things in a different way or a different perspective. But it does have its downfalls. I'm never fully asleep or I'm never fully relaxed. So my brain is always going at 1,000 miles an hour. My speech is sped up. And also, it's hard to relax. I find that relaxing is probably one of the biggest tasks that I can never get round to. And it's normally due to the fact that when I'm trying to relax, the only thing I can do to relax is to watch something like a documentary or listen to a book or watch an educational podcast or something like that, because those things are going to allow me to relax because I'm enjoying the information, I'm enjoying the data, I'm enjoying the feedback, right? And I need that feedback. I'm kind of intellectually thirsty all the time. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm desperate for a drink of water all the time with knowledge. So if somebody said to me, hey, there's a free lecture on kind of hadron colliders down there. Do you want to go and see it? I'd be like, yeah, 100%. Like, I'd be there in a shot. Like, every month I buy like a course to take to learn about something. And also, I actually did a degree in chemistry because I was really bored. That's how my brain works, right? And I was able to do the balancing of chemical formula equations in my head, where normally people have to kind of map out this thing just to make sure you get it right. But I loved it so much. I learned so much about it that I really enjoyed doing those things. Now, some of those kind of common misconceptions people think about autistic people, they're all good at maths, right? And I am pretty good at complex maths and algebra, but like some of the simple maths, I'm not so good at. And actually, a lot of my friends who are autistic are terrible at maths. It's not about being good at maths. It's about being good at the thing that you're really good at. I know it sounds kind of weird to say, but it's kind of like, you know, some of my friends are savants, right? And so they're really good at playing the piano. And then I have an autistic friend who's really good at writing books. Like, they could write every kind of fantasy book you could possibly think of. You know, you wouldn't think it, but there's a skill involved in actually collecting memorabilia and categorizing it, because those things are really interesting. Now, the last thing I want to say about the autistic brain and how it interacts with things is very interesting. An autistic person may collect things like rocks. I was doing a talk once and a parent said to me, my son collects rocks from the beach, from the garden, from the walk we go on, and he collects rocks. He's got rocks all over his room, and it looks like a bloody jumble sale, right? Which is basically a British term for a secondhand store. And she said he had all these rocks everywhere, and it just looked weird, right? And she was wanting to throw them out because it was a mess. I said, no, don't throw them out. And she said, why does he feel the need to collect rocks? Why does he need them? He likes rocks, he can look at pictures of rocks, he can talk about them, but why does he need boxes of them in his room? I said, because the way autistic individual people learn is different to the way that typical people learn. Typically, people will sit down at a desk, listen to a lecture or a teacher, and try and retain that information to regurgitate into a test, right? However, an autistic person will want to have the presence of mass. So say I wanted to learn about this water bottle, and I want to learn everything about it. If I didn't have one in front of me, if I didn't have the presence of mass in front of me, well, how the heck am I supposed to know what it looks like, feels like, touches like, what's the temperature like? I want to know everything about this. I need to learn about this. So the rocks are giving this young boy, tactile feedback for learning and understanding. Whilst touching the rocks, whilst being around the rocks, it's not a Maria Kondo thing where it's like, I'm around the things that bring me joy. No, it's not those things. Or maybe they do bring him joy, but that's not why he collects them. He collects them because he's getting tactile, physical feedback from having the presence of mass for the thing that he's most interested in. And by the term mass, we just mean something that has a presence, right? An actual physical presence. That's what mass means. And so when you think about it, the autistic brain is trying to learn at a rapid rate, which could cause all of these kind of blunders. And think about this. If you're learning all of these things, you're going to trip over sometime with other things like social skills and eye contact and all those other things that autistic individuals may have issues with. And this is basically why. I just want to interject in this video here to let you know that confidence is one of the main issues that hold autistic individuals back from their full potential. This is why I made a course which is the Chaos to Confidence in 90 Days Blueprint, which means I can take an autistic person from complete chaos to being very confident and acing their life. So if you're an autistic adult and you want access to this program, you can check it out. The link is in the description down below. Or you can go to theaspieworld.com/C2C right now, the number 2, and get access to this program.